Blue Dolphin Adventures. Chapter 1. Meeting with the Unknown. The morning sun penetrated through the clear waters of the reef, throwing golden rays over the corals of all shapes and colors. Tropicals danced among the stone cracks, while the gentle waves swayed the marine vegetation, and in the middle of this vibrant world lived Blue, a young dolphin with eyes. Big and full of curiosity, he had gathered around a wise old man, Nimbus, who was smoothing his dorsal swimming with a mysterious air. He knew that Nimbus had been everywhere, beyond the safe limits of the reef, and that he hid secrets that only the bravest could discover. He approached curiously, trying to listen. "It is said," the deep voice began, "that beyond this reef, where the water becomes dark and the currents are strong, there is a mysterious world, place where the sunlight penetrates hard, where strange creatures are hidden in the shadows. That there are submerged cities, others talk about lost treasures and missing ships. But no one from here dared to go there and return to tell us what he has subdued an unknown world. Hidden treasures, mysterious creatures." It sounds exactly like the adventure he had always sought. He turned to his best, coral friend, a slightly more cautious, but loyal dolphin. "What do you say, Coral? Don't you want to see with your eyes what's beyond the reef?" Blue asked with a wide smile. Coral ripped off his caution. "I don't know, Blue, if no one returned from there, maybe it's a good reason not to venture." But Blue could not be so easy. Gaining at the unknown aroused his imagination, and the desire to discover new things was stronger than fear. So, in the evening, after the reef was quiet and the other dolphins were preparing for rest, Blue slowly headed for the edge of the reef. Where the crystalline blue became a dark blue was the unknown. They stirred deep and took the first step outside the world he knew. Immediately change, the currents were louder, the sounds more stifled, and the bottom of the ocean seemed to descend into an abyss, without end. Something was drawn before. T was a strange feeling, as if the ocean itself was called as it was. He observed how the marine creatures were changing. Huge jellyfish floated ghostly, and the marine plants became rarer and more twisted, like arms trying to catch it. All of them, Blue continued their way, enchanted by the strange beauty of the place. Suddenly, you feel a change in the water. A cold current pushed him back slightly, and in the distance, something seemed to move in the dark. Blue held his breath. A huge silhouette was floating above him, almost invisible in the darkness of deep waters. Then, from a corner of the gaze, he saw a pair of bright eyes fixing him. The heart was beating. Something was there, hidden in the dark. He did not know whether to run or stay. But before he could make a decision, the mysterious silhouette was moving. He moved slowly, as if he studied it. Blue gathers his courage. "Who are you?" he asked in a shy voice. From the shadow, there was a deep sound, almost like a lost echo. "Who are you, little?" It was a gentle voice, but full of power. Blue proudly directed his swimmer. "It are Blue, and I am looking for the unknown." The silu was slightly, and the moon that pierced the water revealed the outlines of a huge whale, with the skin marked by deep wrinkles, signs of a long and full life. "A curious dolphin," said the whale with a light smile. "I still see such brave spirits. But you take care, Blue, because the unknown is not always friendly." Blue felt a mixture of fear and enthusiasm. Chapter 2. Preparations for Travel. Blue woke up early, illuminated by the gentle rays of the sun that penetrated through the crystalline waves of the reef. The man had not been restful, his thoughts about his journey filling his mind with enthusiasm and anxiety. When he heard the legend about the mysterious world beyond the reef, he could also think of something else. He understood that he had to discover that world with his eyes. But for this, he needed serious preparations. Unknown advances needed caution, and Blue knew he could not leave without being prepared. He made courage and went to say goodbye to his family. His parents, Azure and Wave, there were two strong and loving dolphins. He told them about his plan. His mother's eyes were filled of tears. "Blue, are you sure you want to leave? The world beyond the reef is dangerous. Maybe it's just a legend. It is not worth taking such a risk." The father, more detained, nodded. "There are dangers that you cannot imagine." Blue looked at his parents with gratitude and spoke to them gently. "I have always felt that the reef is only part of our world. I must see what is beyond. I have to discover with my eyes." And his father offered him a final advice. "Try to follow your instinct, son. The instinct of a dolphin never mistakes." Blue was not alone. He had good friends who were with him at every moment. The closest friend of Finn, a smaller but extremely dolphin, intelligent, was the first to ask him, "You planned everything well? Do you have a route? Do you have energy supplies? You can't leave that way, simply." Blew a laugh. Finn was always the one who analyzed everything in detail. I know, Finn, that's why I need your help. One of their friends, Shelley, a large turtle loaded with wisdom, nodded seriously. The world beyond the reef is vast and unknown. You have to have healthy energy, to know where to find food and where to shelter. But, above all, you have to take care of the predators. Yes, especially sharks. Finn completed. They are the masters of the deep waters. Blue remembered the advice and decided to prepare as best as possible to have energy during the trip. Blue had to eat well. Dolphins feed on small and calm, and Finn helped him find a bank of fresh fish. I assure you that you are well fed before you leave, Finn said, following how Blue caught the fish with incredible agility. After eating enough, Blue felt more energetic than ever. He was ready to leave. Admired the bright corals, the multicolored fish that danced through the waters, and the rays of the sun penetrating through the surface of the ocean, creating spectacular light games. That moment, he felt a goal in the heart. He was ready to leave behind everything he loved. But at the same time, he was prepared for the unknown. Take care, Blue, Finn shouted. Don't forget about us, Shelley added. Blue smiled, turned to the horizon line, and, with a last look at home, began to drown the adventure of his life. Chapter 3. The First Obstacle. Blue swimming with enthusiasm through the clear waters of the ocean, looking around with curious eyes. Each water waving, every reflection of the solar light that penetrated through the waves brought him a feeling of freedom that he had not experienced until then. Remembered the last words of his mother. Take care, Blue. The ocean is bigger than you can imagine, but your brave heart will always guide you. For a while, everything seemed to be well. Turn among the colored fish benches, he greets the sea stars and enjoyed the quiet water breeze. But, at one point, he felt a sudden change in the water current. It was as if an unseen force began to shoot him in an unknown direction. You know how the power of water was increasing more and more, and the swimming became made difficult. He had begun to encounter resistance to every movement of the swimmers. Blue tried to keep his calm, but the current became more and more powerful. He realized that he had been caught in a marine current, a phenomenon he had heard, but which he had never lived. The shock that he should not fight directly against the current, but try to swim diagonally, so that it is easier to release. But the waves seemed to have other plans for him as he was worn. For waters. Blue noticed that the surrounding landscape was beginning to change. It did not recognize the coral formations, nor the fish that swam beside him. Had begun to move away from his native reef. The stories of his grandfather, who always said, "A true adventurer is not afraid of the unknown, but wisely confronts him." Inspired to those words, Blue analyzes his options. Maybe they knew how to get rid of this current. With his last forces, he approaches them and shouts, "Sprinkle me! Can you help me? I was caught in this current, and I don't know how to go out." An old turtle, with an algae shell, stopped and looked at him gently. "You're a brave dolphin," she said. "You don't have to resist the current. Use it to your advantage. If you swim with him for a while, you will find a place to go out without exhausting." Blue listens to the wise advice of the turtle and, instead of fighting the current, began to swim in the same direction, but controlling his movements. After a few minutes that seemed for hours, he noticed how the current was beginning to lose weight. That time, using his last energy reserves, Blue swims sideways and finally managed to get out of the powerful current. Stop for a moment, breathing deeply and feeling the freedom of his movements again. The old woman followed him from a distance and smiled. "You have learned an important lesson today, young dolphin. You do not have to fight against the current. Sometimes, you have to use it in your favor." "Thank you, turtle. I will never forget this advice." The turtle gave him a goodbye and continued his way, and Blue remained in the middle of the quiet waters, feeling more confident than ever. If he was away from home, he had just passed his first obstacle and had learned something valuable. He continued his journey, knowing that many challenges will follow, but with the certainty he was prepared for them. Chapter 4. Unexpected Friendship. Blue advanced cautiously through the unknown waters, feeling alone for the first time. The strong current had removed him from his native reef, and now everything seemed foreigner. The corals had forms he had never seen, the fish were colored differently, and the water had a smell slightly different. Although he was excited about his adventure, a small part of him felt fear. Plooting slowly, heard a short sound, like a sigh. Her carapace was cracked at times, and her small wise eyes looked at him gently. "Who are you, young traveler?" asked the tortoise, slowly raising his head. "I am called Blue," the dolphin said, approaching cautiously. "I started on a journey beyond the reef, but the current took me further than I had planned." "Ah, the ocean always shows you his ways, isn't it great? My name is Arlo. I crossed these waters more times than you can imagine." "Then you can help me." I do not know these places well, and I do not know how to continue my journey. The wisdom of the ocean does not come only from the places you see, but also from the experiences you live. To travel means to learn, to adapt and accept the unknown.T first. The first thing you need to know is that the ocean is not a simple road, it is alive, always changing. If you want to continue your journey, you have to learn to read his signs. Sams. Arlo pointed his head toward a bench of silver fish that quickly swam in a certain direction. Do you see those fish? They feel the currents. If you follow them, you can discover safer ways through the water. Also, the changes of the color of the water, the movement of the algae or the sounds you hear can tell you a lot about what follows. Though the ocean as in a story he could read. Usually, he just swam where he wanted, but now he understood that he could use these clues to help him. Thank you, Arlo. I will remember this advice. The old turtle laughed slightly. You are not in a hurry, young. Svat is just the beginning. Practice makes the difference. Why don't you stay a little here and you don't try to read the ocean? Blue hesitates for a moment, but then accepts. He spent good hours by observing the fish benches, following the movement of water and trying to feel the currents. What time was passing, Blue began to see the ocean with other eyes. T was not just a vast and unknown place, but a space full of clues that could be understood. When the time was to leave, Blue felt a deep gratitude for Arlo. I will never forget what you taught me, I promise. Arlo nodded, smiling warmly. Then the ocean will be a good friend. Safe, Blue. The dolphin continues its journey, but this time with a new confidence. The fact that each wave and every current had a story to tell, and he was ready to listen. Chapter 5. In the Footsteps of Legends. Blue swam calm down next to Arlo, following every movement of the old turtle. The sunbeams penetrated through the crystalline water, illuminating the blue scales of the young dolphin. Arlo sighed deeply, as if to share a well-kept secret. He stopped on a reef covered with algae and looked at the horizon. Have you ever heard of the lost town of corals? Arlo asked in a low, mysterious voice. Baloo blinked curiously. The lost. Sounds fantastic. What is it? The turtle smiled, glancing with wisdom. It is more than a story. It was a real place, a submerged fortress where the corals were growing in unmoved forms, and the creatures of the sea lived in peace and harmony. It is said that it was protected by an old spirit of the ocean, which kept away the dangers. But one day, the city was swallowed by water and no one has ever found it. Blue gave his tail several times, intrigued. No one at all. I say they have seen the ruins, others I think it's just a legend, said Arlo. But I know one thing for sure, this place exists, and in its depths there is something precious. Dolphin is closer, his big and curious eyes reflecting the blue light of the ocean. Something precious. How do you mean? Arlo stretched his paws and drew in the fine sand a strange symbol, similar to a bright sun. It is said that in the heart of the city, hidden among corals and caves, there is a gold coral, a legendary artifact that has the power to bring balance into the ocean. The golden body. And you think it's true? I do not know for sure, Arlo said. But the legends do not appear out of nothing. If you are determined to explore the ocean, to know that this could be your biggest adventure. Dolphin thought for a moment. Tempting, but he knew it couldn't be easy. How could I find it? Blue asked. This is the heavy part. No one knows exactly where he is, but I heard stories about 3 indications that lead to him. Blue feels a thrill of emotion. Those indications. The turtle nodded. The first indication is in a crystal cave, where the winds of the wind sing the stories of the past. The second is hidden among the dense algae forests, where the moonlight draws maps. And third, no one knows exactly, but it is said that it is said. Only those with a pure heart can discover it. Blue gave the tail, impatient. This sounds incredible. Do you think I could find the lost city? Arlo looked at him seriously. You have courage, Blue, and a clean heart. But such a journey is not without danger. The dark water hides many unknowns. The dolphin thought of the strong currents, the unseen predators of the ocean, and how far he was. But something in him pushed him forward, a longing for the unknown that he had never felt. I must try, he said, determined. Then, the first step is to find the crystal cave. It is said that it is south of the shadow reef, beyond the silver sand plains. Blue felt a wave of emotion. T had never been so far, but now it had a purpose. Thank you, Arlo. I'll be back with news about the city. The turtle shook his head with a wise smile. Be careful, little. The ocean is beautiful, but also dangerous. Where he had met Arlo, as far as he was swimming, his thoughts flew to what would discover. The legends were true?